The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to SarahTalk. It's political.
Whatever the condition is in their home country is so bad that they're willing to go through that long, arduous trek to get here, where we've promised this American dream idea. The least we could fucking do is when they knock on our door or help them.
Critical.
Look, whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
Oh, they're shutting us down. They're deplatforming us. I knew a pretty good Alex Jones once. They're turning the frogs gay.
Okay, you're sleeping in a child's room tonight because there's no way you're sleeping next to me. That is disgusting. I'm going to have nightmares.
And now, from Haines City, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk.
I can't get it to go. I pushed it. There it is.
Patience. Welcome to SarahTalk from Haines City, Florida. I guess we have to talk about that.
You're getting brave there.
I am. I'll tell you why I decided to change that. We're not in Orlando, first of all. We're near Orlando.
Near. Well, we are right down the road from Del Webb, Orlando.
Yeah.
Which is not
in Orlando.
In Orlando at all. It's not even in the same county.
But we were at a Central Florida Free Thought Community event last month, it was last month, I guess. And T. Rogers was there from the Orlando Humanist, B Orlando. And I talked to her today, by the way, completely unrelated to this, but and she said something about like how awesome is it that you are doing this atheist podcast in the middle of right, red, rural, conservative, Christian, Polk County. And like, how cool is it that you're doing this show from Haines City? Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me. I thought, man, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. And so let's just own it.
Yeah. You know, you went with Haines City though. I would have said Polk County, Florida.
I also want to share with you that Dan just hashtag anti. Alex Jones voice campaign.
She said, right as she hit the play button, she goes, "Oh, I changed up the intro," and I'm thinking, "All right, we got rid of Alex Jones." And then, no, that's not what she did. So I'm a little annoyed right now.
Let me tell you before I go on too that so I told you about the new recorder that we purchased. Thank you to our patrons for supporting the show financially to allow us to do that. It's been a long time since I've had to like dig into the cables here and try to set things up. And when I ordered the thing, I didn't think about the difference between mic and line level. And so the only output that was left was a main output that was it was a hot level coming into the recorder, and everything was distorted. And so I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to make it work without buying another thing to make it work.
Which was already a pain because when she ordered it, it didn't come with half the stuff she needed, so she had to put in another order.
Right. Look, why would you sell a recorder that has no internal storage and not include the SD card that you need to record onto? Why would you do that?
Or the power input.
The power, yeah. Well, it's meant to be portable.
I get it, but still.
So they assume you're going to put batteries in it and use it in the field, and you can buy a plug.
Yeah, but I would have...
separately.
You know what? Maybe this is just me. I would have thought they would make it with a battery that's rechargeable so that when you plug it into a power source, it's charging the battery for you, ready to go.
Right. Not for this price.
Well, I guess.
So anyway, I think I have it set up. I think it's going to work. But also, in order to make it happen, I had to like reverse polarity everything on the board. So I have no idea what the feed sounds like. Well, yeah, I guess we kind of tested that. I have no idea if this thing's going to record properly, and I can't record as a backup like I normally do onto the computer. So if you're listening to this and it sounds like shit,
Please
it
tell
didn't
us.
work.
And
no,
yeah.
I'll know when I
Well,
go to
I know,
when I
but-
go to produce it tomorrow. But that's why.
Well, I'm saying please tell us because we can wrap it and start a new feed on it.
Oh yeah, no, I think the feed's good.
Okay.
We checked the feed. The feed is okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know sometimes glitchy.
Also, we are filing right now the articles of incorporation for the atheist community of Polk County.
Excited! We got our business
That's
card.
gonna be we got our business cards. We
got our
got some shirts.
T-shirt.
I'm wearing one today.
Oh,
See if I can turn.
Yeah, you didn't
turn
really.
around
You
to-
should have positioned your chair so that you could do that.
Oh, and I'm
Oh my
bumping
God.
bumping the knobs. There,
Can you
it?
see? Yes, perfect. See, check that out. Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm.
Very nice. And eventually we'll get some other designs and stuff too. We'll have maybe the logo here and a memorable quote on the back,
Yeah,
something like that.
I love it.
So
I'm excited for the polo with my name embroidered on it.
yeah, yeah, that'll be nice.
Everybody says the live feed sounds great. So.
Good. Oh well, I'm a.
You got to do the daddy pig from Peppa thing, the Peppa Pig thing. Every time
No.
he fixes something, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he goes, "Well, I am kind of an expert at this."
Oh my God. Speaking of Peppa Pig, before we get into the 10 pages of nonsense tonight, did you see the article? And everybody's covering it about kids that are like picking up the Peppa Pig accent here in
I
America.
refuse to read any of it. I haven't even watched the Colbert thing
Oh,
yet.
it's so good.
But this is why, because a few weeks ago I read an article that was like basically, it wasn't really an article. It was somebody buzzworthy, whatever, gathered all the tweets of all the parents that hate Peppa Pig,
Okay.
and they're like just bashing Peppa Pig really badly. But it was funny because after reading it, it made me realize that, wow, this show is really crappy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but on some of the tweets that were that were being shared were really good.
Yeah.
Like, and because we have a 3-year-old and she watches Peppa Pig,
She loves Peppa Pig.
loves Peppa Pig, and well, there for a while she has a Peppa Pig shirt and she would go, "I'm Peppa Pig."
It's her favorite shirt. It's gonna be really sad when she grows out of it.
Uh,
Because if it's dirty or it's not clean or she
Yeah.
spills something on it, it's a
It's a big
nightmare.
deal.
It's a big deal. Like she wanted to wear it to bed tonight, and I was like, let's not. I was like, diversion. We'll save it for tomorrow.
But I had to reach out to my British friends that I worked with at Disney back in the day, because now my child has started coming out. So we'll go out to the back
This is great.
to the backyard. We'll go out on the back patio, and she'll go out to play, and she'll say, "I go out to the garden." Now, what I thought she meant was, I play in the garden. That's what it was. I play in the garden. And what I imagined in my mind was she's going to go out to the vegetable garden and start digging shit up. Like, that's what I expected. I thought she was going to, like, literally go play in the dirt in the garden. What she meant was to play in the yard. So, if the garden is the yard, then where do we plant the vegetables? That was my dilemma.
And clearly, you haven't watched the show with her nearly as much as I have.
No.
Because you have a garden, you have an orchard, you have a vegetable garden.
I'm just saying, our kid's obsessed with Peppa Pig.
Well,
She's one of these kids.
She's becoming, that's the way she's learning about things. Even now, she'll say, walking through the parking lot or whatever the other day, and there was water, and she goes, "Ooh, muddy puddle."
Right.
And I'm like, but she said you can't jump in muddy puddles unless you wear your boots. So
No, there you go.
I'm happy. It's good.
All right, well, let's get into the news tonight. This is going to be a very heavy church-state sort of show.
Oh, goody.
But before that, I want to talk about some politics. It's a state of emergency, by the way. Don't know if you knew that. We've announced that that what's happening at the border is a state of emergency. Now, you might think that the state of emergency would be, I don't know, our treatment of people who are trying to come to the country and taking the children away and locking them in cages and all of that stuff, but you'd be wrong. The crisis is we don't have a wall. So there we go.
Nonsense.
Also, have you filed your taxes?
I haven't, but my bookkeeper has taken care of that.
Well, for the rest of you, how's that working out for you? So we personally got back about the same amount as we did last year. And I'm one of those people that files, like, I claim 0 so that they will take the maximum out because I don't trust myself to manage the money. Like, look, the goal should be, and I know this, so don't come at me. The goal should be that you owe nothing at the end of the year and you get nothing back at the end of the year. The goal should be as close to 0 as you can get, right? So that you have that money during the year to use or invest or whatever. And that you're not, like, giving the government an interest-free loan with all of the surplus money that you've paid into them for them to do whatever they want with. I get that. But also, now we have credit card bills that we need to pay off, and that refund is going to help. And we would not have used it
that
appropriately throughout the year.
No. And it's funny because I think that just the way the economy works, that a lot of people are in that boat.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I know that I've been in that boat since I started working. Like, you wait till the end of the year, get your refund, and then you can go pay off some bills, splurge, replace your tires, or whatever you need to do.
Right.
You know, and I think that's because even I took the van to get an oil change today, and I was talking to the mechanic, and he says, yeah, we've been really busy because it's that time of year, everybody's checks are starting to come in, so they're getting all their repairs done now while they have the money.
Right.
So,
I mean, I guess if you were a good investor, like if you wanted to do it right, what you could do is figure out how much additional money a week or month or whatever that you're overpaying to the government and instead invest it in an interest-bearing account. Like, sure.
Yeah.
But many who normally see a refund are now seeing less money back or even getting hit with a bill thanks to the revised income brackets. Trump and the GOP's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, passed in 2017, of course, favors corporations and the disgustingly wealthy. And so many in the middle class are owing more to the IRS than usual. And of course, their wages haven't had any measurably effective increase either.
Right? That's the bullshit of it all.
Yep.
You don't see any, like, the cost of living has gone up.
Yep.
What you're paying to the government for taxes is going up, but your income has stayed the same.
Yep. So here you go. Victoria says, yes, I have filed claim 0 and got about $3,000 less this year than last year. I can't see the rest of that comment.
Dan says, I manipulate withholding throughout the year. Got both amounts, IRS and state, as close to 0 as possible successfully. Congratulations,
well done.
Dan.
You want to be our financial advisor?
Really? I mean, seriously, you're already our unofficial researcher, so what's another job?
What's another unpaid job, Dan?
Oh, my God. I'll buy you a bottle of wine.
So what you're saying is, you mean tax cuts to mega corporations and the wealthy doesn't trickle down to the working girl? Say it ain't so!
What?
The average refund is down about 8%, according to CNN reporting. But the beauty of this whole mess is the Trump and GOP supporters who have angrily taken to Twitter. I shall read some.
Oh, this will be fun.
Jay Wright tweeted at Nebraska Representative Don Bacon, I just finished my
Don Bacon, really?
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Okay.
Go on.
I just finished my taxes, and we're paying an extra $4,000 this year since exemptions are gone. With a high-deductible health care plan, this has not been a good year. I voted for you twice now. What's the plan? Tweeting a reply to Trump, at Sandy New to This, said, I have to pay $2,000 more in taxes this year? What happened? I voted for you and thought you were fixing this, not making it worse. I thought I would get money back this year.
Is he going to use all this money to build a wall?
Joel Serbin tweets, at POTUS, thank you for screwing the middle class with your tax reform. I have never in my life, I'm 49 years old, had to pay into the IRS until this year. We have a combined income of $150,000. The middle class voted for you. I will not make this same mistake twice. Okay, is $150,000 middle class?
Is it? Man,
if that's middle class, we are impoverished.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
Damn. Is that really?
Can't be.
No.
Come on, can't be.
So basically, if I get a job making what you make,
right,
we almost middle
class. We almost middle. Right. Right.
God, that's sad.
At 973, Angie says, worst tax return I had in a decade. I admit I voted for Donald Trump, but he has officially lost my vote for 2020.
This is what did it.
Right.
This is what did. You $2,000 out.
Of all the other things.
Of all the other things, you down $2,000 and you lose. Oh, God, people need to get their priorities straight. Okay.
In response to a White House tweet bragging about a 20-year high in employment numbers, NYC girl tweets, voted for you, family of 2 hardworking New York cops. Did taxes for years, we would pay more and get a refund at the end of the year to help pay debt. See, we're not alone. First time in 30 years we had to pay more in federal taxes. I'm disgusted. Dennis Jordan says, I am a Republican voter. I just did our taxes. The GOP tax bill cost my family thousands of dollars this year on our return due to changes, thereby hitting us with the largest tax increase of our lives. We are middle-class homeowners, and you raised our taxes. Infuriating.
Sad face emoji.
These are so
no.
good.
Cursing emoji? Yeah. Infuriated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sad. At Special 3886 says, wait till you file your taxes. Middle class just lost half their return. Lowest refund I have ever had, and I am 50 years old. No wall, and now this tax reform sucks too. Starting to doubt Trump. I voted for him and trusted him too. Again, now you're starting to doubt him?
See, but now I'm thinking if we were middle class, maybe we wouldn't be depending on the refund so much at the end of the year. But I'm glad we're not if we're getting screwed over.
Somehow we just got lucky that our tax bracket didn't change enough.
Yeah, it must have been. That's crazy.
Nick writes, I voted for this crackpot president. What a mistake I made. Getting screwed on taxes, losing roughly $3,500. My mortgage interest is not deductible. WTF? Jeff Dearborn, at Real Donald Trump, I just got back from my tax accountant. All I can say is, you fucked us bad. On the same income as 2017, I went from getting a $6,000 refund for both state and federal to owing $2,000.
Damn.
That's an $8,000 change for those of you playing along at home. I will not vote for you again. Your tax changes suck. In August of 2018, the U.S. Government Accountability Office warned that unless taxpayers acted to adjust their withholding, more than 30 million taxpayers would owe taxes the next year. Dan is the only one that got that memo, apparently.
Oh, man.
Why do these people keep believing the GOP lies? The lies that they're for smaller government and less taxes. Like, that's the story that the GOP spits.
Dan says, like myself, those who always take the standard deduction did come out better. Itemizers lost big time.
Right.
So,
right. We don't have enough to itemize. We always end up taking a standard deduction. But I don't know. Honestly, what do you people expect? I don't understand.
I mean,
these people wear this stuff on their sleeves.
Right.
We're for less government. We don't want spending. We want small government and lower taxes. And by the way, we need to shove $50 trillion more at our military. What? And build a giant wall.
But we don't want to take care of our vets, and we don't want to take care of the children that get, given up because their parents can't take them, and we wouldn't give them proper birth control or access to abortions. But
Dan says, my reply to all these complainers would be, but her emails.
Oh, that's gonna be bad. I can hear it. Oh, that's funny. Oh, what made people trust him?
Right.
In the first place.
Right.
Idiocy. Because, come on, someone proven to be a con man will always look out for himself and his buds. My taxes were way less than usual, but at least I'm getting something back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was Anna.
All right, well, let's move on then.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys, by the way. I'm like sniffly and if I sneeze 1,000 times, I'm sorry. I only got what the kids have.
Go ahead.
Did you just mute my microphone?
No, but I can.
Oh, okay. Like you hit something over there.
No.
And then you turned around and gave me this
Nope.
snarky look and said, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was trying to adjust your microphone so it doesn't do that thing again when you scream into it.
When I cackle.
In another case of religious freedom versus human rights and non-discrimination policy, the steering committee of LGBT, sorry, they're not super letter inclusive, alphabet inclusive. The steering committee, let me take another run at that.
It's too many letters.
The steering committee of the LGBT Community Fund in Illinois plans to file a complaint with the Illinois Department of Human Rights after a Lombard-based printer refused to print a brochure for the fund, citing religious beliefs. The fund, launched in 2010 and housed at Chicago Community Trust, has donated about $1 million to LGBT organizations. The fund hired Deborah Scheider, creative director at Chicago-based marketing communications firm Kineo Group, to design a brochure. About 2 weeks ago, Schneider sent files for the brochure to York Print Shop. It has a lot of superfluous E's at the end of their words. York's owner, Brad Skull, had quoted a price and scheduled the job according to Schneider. She sent him the files to print. Then, Skull called to say that he could not do the job based on his religious beliefs, though he did help them find another printer to take the job. Quote, "I'm a Christian. I believe in Scripture, and my faith is really important to me," says Skull. "I have nothing against any of those people," he says, noting that he has gay and lesbian friends and business associates, as if that makes him not a bigot. Right? I have a black friend card. He says, "I have an issue when stuff gets into the promotion of the lifestyle." Whatever that's supposed to mean. Look, I'm willing to bet you don't have a lot of gay and lesbian friends after a statement like that.
Right.
It's fine.
You might
until
know a couple, but that
promoting
doesn't mean
the lifestyle.
you actually know anything about them.
Right.
Oy.
He says, "I don't think people really understand that I can love the people and maybe not agree with them, but people don't do the same for me. That's not love, asshole."
Right. Oh my gosh.
I love you, but you can't come to my store. I'm not going to serve you. That's not love. Go to hell.
Right. Yeah.
Article 5 of the Illinois Human Rights Act states that public accommodations, including businesses, cannot discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation, and the statute does not provide an exemption for religion. Way to go, Illinois. So the question then becomes, does the printer have a constitutional right to discriminate under the First Amendment and break state law, basically?
No.
Lambda Legal's law and policy director, Jennifer Pizer, says courts in Kentucky and Arizona are currently looking at similar cases. So it'll shake out in the courts and we'll see.
Dan said it sounded like Sarah said refused.
Probably. I'm drinking.
And my hairstylist is in the comments, Mr. Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Loving on my haircut. Thank you. You better love it. You did it. Doesn't it look better now that I came home and styled it, though?
Much better. It was a poof.
Well, I came home and took a shower, and then I just laid on the couch and let it dry, and yeah, it was not good.
So tonight we're going to have another What the Hell segment. This segment is what the fuck is going on in Arizona?
Oh, wait, we get another what the fuck section?
224-40-SARAH, 224-407-2724. If you want to call in and talk about any of this stuff, we'll have the phone lines open. And Dan, if you want to be the special correspondent for Arizona, we got like 3 stories. So let's get right into it. Big news this week in Arizona on the church-state front. On February 6th, we learned from him at Meta over at the Friendly Atheist that Arizona's In God We Trust branded license plates were funding an anti-LGBT Southern Poverty Law Center labeled hate group. The state's website describes the license plate, which is one of like 500,000 choices. They have a ton of license plate designs. As, quote, available to everyone, $17 of the fee goes to promote the national motto In God We Trust, First Amendment rights, and the heritage of this state and nation. But nowhere does the ADOT website tell you that $17 goes to Alliance Defending Freedom, the Christian right organization you might remember from the 2014 case Burwell v. Hobby Lobby, where the Supreme Court ruled that businesses can have religious beliefs and thus deny contraceptive coverage in their health care plans because Jesus. And they were adjacently involved in opposing the landmark marriage equality ruling in Obergefell v. Hodges. And they represented Colorado bigot baker Jack Phillips in Masterpiece Cake Shop v. Colorado Civil Rights Commission. These people.
Yeah.
That's who That's who your license plate money's going to. And we've talked about this before, but the In God We Trust license plates are among the top 3 goals for Project Blitz this year. And they're expected to pass pretty easily because it's not seen as establishing or advancing any specific religion, even though it does.
An atheist license plate for Polk County.
Okay. Get on that.
And then all that money
Where's
can
the money
benefit
go?
my nonprofit organization.
They're not going to do that. Ain't nobody going to do that.
I'll open.
But see, so the thing, the problem with this is that because they've spent all of this time, and this is part of the goal of Project Blitz, right? Because they've spent all of this time trying to rewrite the narrative that In God We Trust is not about, the God of Abraham specifically. It's just ceremonial and deistic. And we have a court ruling to back that up, of course. Terrible court ruling that was incorrect. So if you're Joe Citizen, right, and you're living in Arizona, and you're picking out your license plate, and maybe you're a patriotic fella, right? And you're scrolling through these things, and you're like, oh, In God We Trust, that's the national motto. Yes, I like that, And you may not have any religious intent behind it. But your money's going to a hate group.
Right. It's like when you go to Hobby Lobby and you buy craft projects to make a sign to take with you to Pride.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the profit loss on that is break even, but
well, Dan says, as a result, there's a bill in the legislature to remove In God We Trust altogether. Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
don't jump the
he's our special correspondent. I'm just giving him his time.
So what's the response? One of the very few only openly atheist state senators. That doesn't make any sense. Why did I write that?
You were obviously drunk when you wrote it.
I do this at work. I couldn't have been drunk.
Oh yeah, those days are behind you.
You're not wrong. One of the very few openly atheist state senators in the country, Juan Mendez, has filed a bill that would create a public list of groups that benefit from specialty plates, just creating transparency, right? Because as a citizen, you should know exactly what the government is doing with your money. But that's not all. He introduced another bill that would redefine which specialty plates qualify to get some of the fees to other organizations, conveniently leaving the In God We Trust plate off the list. So the plates are labeled like, A001, A002, or whatever they are, right? And so he's like, here are all the license plates that qualify for transferring funds to other organizations. And it's like 001, 002, 023, 24, 26.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wait, where's 25? Hate group.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty awesome. Mendez says, hopefully in the future we can put in place some common sense guidelines that would bar hate groups from earning money through Arizona license plates. State dollars should not be funding an organization that works to strip residents of our state of their human rights and human dignity. It's appalling that we've already sent over $1 million
Whoa.
to this extremist hate group.
Wow.
And lots of groups, local and national, are screaming about this. But a local pastor at Fountain Hill United Methodist Church agrees too.
Really?
Pastor David Felton said, quote, "What do people not understand about the inappropriateness of this kind of fundamentalist-inspired, state-sanctioned discrimination? This is not just an abstract violation of church-state separation. It's a very real rejection of Arizona's LGBTQ people by the very government that is supposed to be impartial and support and protect all of its citizens." Well said. So, again, let me take a moment to just say, and this is a new approach that you're gonna have to get used to. But I've decided to adopt this new approach, and that's this. And I think this comes out of our community organizing efforts. The believers aren't the enemy, right? It's the dogma. It's the text. It's the belief. It's the...
What is it they say? Don't hate the sinners, hate the sin.
Right.
Well, we don't hate you. We hate
right,
your beliefs.
Don't hate the believer, hate the belief.
I mean, yeah. Because that's what's ultimately...
Right. That's what's driving it.
Right.
Right. Now, there's exceptions to this rule, right? If you're a pedophile priest in the Catholic Church, then you go fuck yourself. But, I mean, rather you fuck yourself than little boys. So.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. Here's what I think. If we can come to the table with a pastor like this and agree at the very least on having a government that is neutral toward religion, then there's a place to start from. And I think, so I want to talk about, before we keep going here, there's this internal debate that I have in my brain about partnering on church-state issues like this, because there are two ways you can look at this, right? I think you can look at this as we find the common ground that we have and build from there, and we can say, what's this guy, United Methodist pastor? I agree with you on this church-state issue thing. I disagree with you on your stance on LGBTQ people and abortion or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever the other issues are.
Right.
But I think we can at least agree that religion needs to not be preferenced in government. Can we sit down across the table from pastors, as atheist leaders, as organizers, and have those conversations and be willing to sit down and write joint press releases and statements that say, hey, we're together on this thing. Even though we may disagree about the God belief, even though we may disagree about the reliability of faith as a method to find truth, the reliability of the text of holy books as evidence for truth. We can disagree on that. We can disagree on other social positions. You don't allow LGBT clergy member or whatever.
Right. Yeah. You have to have allies. And if it, especially when it's something like this, because it's only hurting people on both sides, I think, because you've got people that are just so gung-ho, like, they're attacking my freedom to be religious or whatever, and that's not what it's about. But your right to practice religion shouldn't infringe on somebody else's right to not practice religion, and it should always, the government should never lean one side to the other on those two issues, or that the what is it, the two sides of that coin.
Right. So anyway, I think like that's you're going to see an evolution, I think, in the way we conduct ourselves on the show, even maybe to a point. Again, like, and I said this recently, my goal is to criticize the beliefs.
Yeah.
But then and you will see there are stories that come up where it's just like, wow, that's a faith leader who did a thing that, holy shit, and maybe we should probably talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, moving back into what the fuck is going on in Arizona. Anyway, in a statement last Friday, Alliance Defending Freedom's senior counsel Jeremy Tedesco fired back, accusing Mendez of a discriminatory anti-religious campaign, writing, quote, Arizona State Senator Juan Mendez's actions are discriminatory against people of faith that share commonly held beliefs, get this, across the Jewish, Islamic, and Christian faiths, as if they're united on this front. Has anyone at ADF asked Jews and Muslims, like, do you agree with our mission? do Jewish and Islamic people see In God We Trust as representative of them?
That's a good question.
Interesting questions.
Yeah.
In response, our friends over at American Atheists, of which we are now card-carrying members,
Whoop, whoop.
along with the Secular Coalition for Arizona, they launched a billboard campaign to raise awareness about these plates funding the ADF. Billboards will appear in 3 locations in the Phoenix area until March, which features a picture of the In God We Trust plate with the license plate number ADF-HATE, H8. And raises the question, is your license plate funding hate? And points people to licensplatehate.org. If you want to find out more about what's going on there, that's a thing you should do.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on in Arizona?
Well, Dan says they have 68 different styles of license plates there.
Well, I said 500,000, so.
So, yeah, I guess he posted the link. You can actually go look at them because he's great like that and likes to give everybody all the information they need to follow along. I love it.
Yeah, he shared the link in case you'd like to go register a hateful license plate.
Oh, gosh, that is not true. Anyway. So, yeah, you have 68 to check into to see.
I don't. I was about to say, I don't know how many Florida has, but you wait about 5 minutes, Dan will tell you.
Well, I'm just curious. Somebody needs to go to Arizona and just register one more.
Right. Another of the few openly atheist lawmakers around, Arizona State Representative Athena Salman gave an invocation on Monday to open the legislative session for the day. This is not her first, of course. In 2017, she gave an invocation that referred to, quote, the humanity that resides within each and every person here. Much to the chagrin of Republicans who lost their shit, demanded that invocations must invoke a higher power, presumably in an attempt to silence atheist viewpoint. And one Republican was even given permission to deliver his own prayer to God after Salman's invocation because, oh my God, what terrors might happen if we go to work without talking to the sky first?
What insanity is going on in this world? Listen, just because the Patriots won the Super Bowl doesn't mean God answers prayers.
Right.
It was a rigged game.
So, on Monday, she invocated again. This time, a little bit more pointed in content. Let's have a listen.
Take a moment to reflect on the wonders of the universe. Bask in the awe and magnificence of the diversity of nature. Look upon the soaring mountains, the vast seas, the cloud-studded azure skies. Ponder how living beings became so immensely diverse on our life-giving planet, how integrated and interdependent is all life meshed on our wondrous earth. Can we truly fathom the depth of the intricacies required to produce and sustain living beings such as animals, plants, microbes, the engines that support the survival of such diverse life forms on an incredibly insignificant planet in an insignificant galaxy, in an insignificant corner of an unimaginably immense universe that may possibly be a single speck floating in a sea of universes. The wonders of nature dwells deep in the hearts and minds of all people living on this wondrous rock we call Earth, as it makes its endless journey around a life-giving star we call soul. No matter what we may call it, we give thanks to the awe-inspiring power of nature itself.
Now, that was great. And if my research was correct, that was written by a constituent.
Okay.
It was a humanist constituent who wrote that.
122 plates in Florida.
Not surprised.
No.
But State Representative John Kavanagh, no relation, asks to speak because he just can't let it go and has to be a dick about it.
Representative Kavanagh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to a point of personal privilege, introduction of guests in the gallery.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce my guest, God. God is in the gallery, as he is everywhere, and the same God who, by the way, created nature, which purportedly created this tiny speck of a planet in which this tiny speck of a legislature legislates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen to the gallery and the crowd clapping.
Clearly that was God clapping.
Yeah, right. Right. and again, like, literally just to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
For no other reason than just to be a dick.
It's completely unjustified.
Right. And conduct unbecoming of an elected official. Like, grow up and be professional, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Well, 3 years of mistreatment like this finally boiled over, and Representative Salman later entered a protest during the session. Now, this clip cuts off a bit at the end, but it's only a few seconds, and I'll fill in the gaps for what we miss.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, Mr. Speaker, I rise for a point of protest.
Okay. That's.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise for this protest today.
Can you cite the roll, please?
I have a constitutional right to protest. Rule 20.
Thank you.
I rise to protest today because I want to make it clear I have never denigrated another member's invocation. Yet, for the third year in a row, members of this body have belittled my religious beliefs in ways that are humiliating and uncalled for. Yesterday's action by the representative from Fountain Hills mocking my invocation, which was written by his constituent, Anita Ramakowski, violates the Arizona Constitution, Article 20, Section 1, that requires, quote, perfect toleration, and no inhabitant of this state shall ever be molested in person or property on account of his or her mode of religious worship or lack of the same. Additionally, it violated the U.S. Constitution and Supreme Court ruling in Greece versus Galloway in 2014 that prohibits the disparaging of other faiths or none. Finally, it violates House Rule 25, privilege of the House, as it exhibits behavior unbecoming of a member. The Arizona court has made it clear in appeal in Cochise County Juvenile Action 1982 when it said, quote, we cannot imagine that the legislature would give preferential treatment to one religion over another because one is more established and thus more acceptable than another. Yet for years, members of a more established religion in this chamber have disparaged members of non-faith. This is in clear violation of our rights. It was in violation of Representative Kavanagh's constituents' rights. My mother was in the gallery, my grandmother. I was so ashamed I didn't even...
Okay, so that it cuts off. And what she says at the end is, my mother was in the gallery, my grandmother. I was so ashamed that I didn't even introduce them because of the behavior that we witnessed on the floor. So I protest. Thank you. And I'm sorry, that was the next day, not later that day.
Yeah.
But still, like, way to go. Don't take
Right?
that shit anymore.
Yeah. Good for her.
Right?
Oy.
So, look, if somebody tries to argue that Christianity isn't privileged in the U.S., they need to turn off Fox News and just watch actual legislative
Right.
videos,
Yeah.
which are all public record anyway.
Mm-hmm. And
Click it
way
watch them.
more entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time. Well, not most of the time. Some of the time.
But anyway, what
Depends on.
the fuck is going on in Arizona?
Mm.
Moving out of Arizona, the next story comes from the Washington Post. Christian student challenged a school history lesson on Islam and lost in court.
Ooh.
A Southern Maryland high school junior refused to complete a history lesson on the Muslim world that she said forced her to embrace Islam in conflict with her Christian faith and the Constitution. The lesson in dispute lasted 5 days out of a year-long course.
Mm-hmm.
When the student was in 11th grade at La Plata High School in 2014-2015, she and her parents objected to two aspects of the unit that touched on politics, geography, and culture. I wonder if this is the parents objecting.
Right?
Anyway, one was a slide contrasting peaceful Islam with radical fundamental Islam, which included the statement, quote, "Most Muslims' faith is stronger than the average Christian." Okay, that's a little subjective, maybe. But I mean, I want to know the context. What was the conversation around that? Was that like, well, these people are willing to go blow themselves up for their faith.
Right.
Obviously, their faith is stronger than yours.
Right.
I want to know what the discussion points
Yeah.
were, but we don't get those. She was also required to complete a worksheet on the growth of Islam, the beliefs and practices, and the links between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity.
Was this a public school?
Yep.
Okay.
A fill-in-the-blank section included the statement, quote, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." I don't know which one of those was the blank. Probably Muhammad.
Uh-huh.
A portion of an Islamic declaration of faith. Her father demanded she be given a different assignment and instructed her not to complete any of this work. And in court, they argued that the materials lacked any secular purpose and had the effect of promoting and endorsing Islam. I don't see that.
I'd have to see the whole curriculum to...
Right, but,
but
of the things that they pointed out.
Right, like what was the whole course? Like what all... And... Okay. Yeah, keep going.
The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit this week sided with the school, saying that the students' First Amendment rights were not violated because the curriculum did not endorse a particular religion and did not compel her to profess any belief. Attorney Andrew Scott, representing the Charles County school officials, said the ruling sends an important message to school officials throughout the state affirming their discretion to teach about religion. He said, quote, "Religion is an integral part of history. You can't ignore it. The key is to teach it from a secular perspective and not to proselytize." Now, the best of my research ability last night, and Dan will correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that Maryland has so far not passed one of these garbage Bible Literacy Act legislation bills from Project Blitz. But if it had, how would that have complicated things, right? If in law there had been a preference of Christianity as a class.
Right.
Obviously, this was taught in a history context.
Right.
Or a geography world.
Did your research yield any information on what cult this family might have belonged to?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
Because it was.
I didn't do that.
Let me see for a minute.
Let you see what? What are you looking for? This is great radio.
This paragraph.
Okay.
Read that again. She and her parents. Because that, when I heard that, I'll then tell you what went through my mind.
Okay. She and her parents objected to two aspects of the unit that touched on politics, geography, and culture.
Okay. So the unit was about politics, geography, and culture. Is that how I'm understanding that sentence?
I'm reading it as there was a unit on the Muslim world.
Right. Well,
that included politics, geography, and culture.
Okay.
Like the things that they were complaining about were...
The first time you read it through, I heard politics, geography, and culture, and I, like, bells were going off in my head, like, oh, those are all the things that I wasn't allowed to learn about.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, because they want to keep you in a bubble, and if you learn about politics, you learn.
Okay, politics
and if
I
you,
knew. Right.
You learn about other cultures around the world, and you realize that,
Right.
It's just like, it's one of those things. Keep people ignorant, keep them in a bubble.
What about geography? Do they not want you to know that other continents exist?
Well, there's a lot of, the less you know about geography, when the reports come in and they say, oh, look how much this country has grown, and you realize there's really only 3 people living there. Because,
right.
It's just one of those things. The less you know, the more entrapped you are.
Right.
That's all.
Anyway, I think all of this reinforces my position that if you're going to teach religion, it needs to be a comparative world religions class.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can understand, and I agree with the decision by the court that the school has a right to be like, okay, kids, we're going to learn about Syria, Iraq, and Iran this week, and you need to know about their religious beliefs because that's part of it.
Right.
In order to understand world politics and
yeah. Well, and I think too, like, I don't know that the American education system is ready for any courses like that yet, because they're still not teaching the actual history behind what Thanksgiving is. They're not teaching.
Right.
They're
no, the history of this nation is
our own
whitewashed.
History.
Right.
Yeah, like they're not even teaching our actual real history. So I don't know that I would trust them, whoever is writing these books and passing these things as educational.
No, and that's why I'm worried about this Bible Literacy Act here in Florida and all the other 7 states that are looking at it, is that it says in the text, in the language, that it has to be taught objectively and not proselytize.
Right.
But come on.
Right, yeah.
And what guarantee do we have that it will be? And in a predominantly Christian area, nobody's going to complain because it just reinforces their existing beliefs, which a public school shouldn't be doing, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Over in Iowa, a federal judge has sided with a Christian group in a religious freedom case. A student group, Business Leaders in Christ, had its registration revoked by the University of Iowa in 2017 after the group barred a student from holding a leadership position after that student disclosed that he was gay.
Ooh.
The university said it had a right and obligation to ensure an open and non-discriminatory environment on campus, and so, in applying their non-discrimination policies, they revoked the group's registration. This prevented them from reserving campus meeting spaces, participating in student recruitment affairs, accessing funds from student activity fees, or the university use of the university-wide communication services. So it took a lot out of them. BLC sued the university, arguing that its membership is open to all students, but that leaders must affirm a statement of faith that includes rejecting homosexuality.
Okay, so wait a minute. How does that work? Because, okay, fine. You can be in our group, but you can't be leader in our group unless you reject homosexuality. And then you're a leader in the group and you have to lead somebody who's homosexual. But how do you lead them if you're supposed to reject them?
Right. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Rose granted a permanent injunction banning the university from rejecting the status of the group. Rose found that the university had unevenly applied its human rights policy by allowing other groups to limit membership based on religious views, race, sex, and other protected characteristics. Now, again, I think it's stupid that you'll let gay people be members of your shitty club, but not leaders. And I can't imagine why anyone would want to be. But the policy does have to be applied equally and fairly. So my question would be, what are these other groups doing that are supposedly limiting their members or leaderships with exclusions of protected classes of people? And why is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, all I can think of is like, oh, okay, there's maybe a women's club.
Right.
And we don't let, men come in.
Right.
But that seems very different to me.
That's a different, I mean, and I don't know.
As long as they're trans inclusive.
Does that really happen? I mean, I guess it probably does in certain pockets. But then I think, okay, well, is it a boys club? Would be the same or opposite, I guess, of that.
Right.
And where are the feminists showing up to fight against those clubs or for those clubs? I don't even know.
Well, anyway, let's take a break.
Yeah, I gotta blow my nose.
Oh, good. Well, when we come back, we have more religious nonsense.
More?
Oh, there's always more.
More?
And my thing broke.
Don't break your thing.
Oh, no. Oh, that broke a long time ago.
Something wrong with you.
More religious nonsense. An 11-year-old arrested for refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
No.
And a Florida man. After this, you're listening to Sarah Talk.
In today's health-conscious society, you have many beverage choices. But do you know what's in all of them? So much sugar, sodium, and things you can't even pronounce. Dihydrogen monoxide. What's that? Sometimes you wish you just had a simple, more elegant solution for your beverage needs. Introducing H2O, the first ever chemical-free thirst quencher. H2O is simple, simply composed of 3 portions of 2 elements, hydrogen and oxygen. H2O means chemical-free, unlike water, which is filled with all sorts of shit. When we tested H2O, we found traces of no other elements. So pure, the bottle may as well be fucking empty, with all the same nutritional content as a breath of cool mountain air. First widely featured on Goop.com, actress Gwyneth Paltrow revealed that she exclusively uses H2O for her vaginal steaming process. After all, why use water when you can steam it with H2O? So now we invite you to run out to your local garden hose and drink that shit. Remember, it's not water, it's H2O.
H2O bottled by Flint Bottling Company in Flint, Michigan. Product not actually endorsed by Goop or Gwyneth Paltrow. Please do not use H2O for vaginal steaming, or better yet, please do not steam your vagina. H2O is actually just water. Water is a set of molecular compounds. It's a chemical. Everything is a chemical.
Hello, my friends. This is Sister Mary Atheist of the Church of Religious Avoidance down here in Bumblefuck, Alabama. Now, my friends, my people, my brothers and sisters, do you feel lost? Do you feel that swelling urge to be a part of something better? Well, let the word of SarahTalk help you. If you've never known the word SarahTalk, learn it, live it, love it. Can I get an amen? No? Good, 'cause we don't do that shit around here. My friends, we must all remember that the good word of SarahTalk doesn't happen for free. So get yourself over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and help us spread the word. Plant that seed and help it grow into secular, peer-reviewed empirical evidence for the good of all. In the name of the Sarah, the Becca, and the science-based podcast, amen. Hallelujah and holy shit.
I was feeling so alone. I'm glad I asked for help. Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386.
SarahTalk is horrible.
These are tough people.
They prey on the vulnerable. They hurt women and children. They spread human misery and suffering. I'll tell you what, SarahTalk should be ashamed of itself. Sarah, you are a rude, terrible person. The way you treat Donald Trump is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run SarahTalk. And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
Are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President,
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Welcome back to Sarah Talk. Will we get a new patron this week?
You never know.
Oh, damn. Someone got me for Christmas President Predicto. This is a magic.
Is it the same one that Miss Cleo used? Except
maybe, right? And it's basically a magic 8-ball with Trump's voice, which I think is
really funny,
fantastic. Yeah. Hey, before we get back to the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful patrons. Your financial support keeps this thing going, and we appreciate it immensely. Thank you for buying us a new recorder. Hopefully it worked. If you're listening to this not on the live stream, it worked! Yay! For as little as $1 an episode, we do one a week. You can join our great patron family at patreon.com/SarahTalk, or we'd love a 5-star glowing review on Apple or Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show. We'll read those if you give us a good review. And absolutely, please share the episodes out with people that you think would appreciate the sort of content that we put out there. I also want to say before we move along, Victoria mentioned earlier in the chat that she had listened to our interview with Tim and Bill over at the Recovering from Religion podcast.
I still haven't listened to it all the way through.
Are you kidding me?
I started it, but I got the kids and the mess and the phone and the insurance company calling and all that nonsense. So, and then I can't figure out how I'm really bad at listening to podcasts. I have like 2 that I listen to regularly, and that one's not. I listen to it every now and then.
You didn't even listen to ours.
But I know I'm so behind on ours.
No.
But I used to listen to ours 2 or 3 times an episode, just But then I kind of whatever. I don't know. I think I probably stopped listening as religiously. When you stopped editing.
Yeah. Right. Well, so here's the funny thing, right? I listened to this show 3 times.
Once while you're doing it.
Once while I'm doing it, right? Once while I'm editing it.
And then
4.
Oh.
Because then it drops into the patron feed and drops into the public feed. And I listened to both of those just to make sure that I didn't fuck anything up. Because they are edited slightly differently. So I listened to the show. That's crazy.
What I was going to say was, you have to set it up for me because I can't, once I start it, I can't figure out how to move it. So I've only got like 15 minutes in and I went to try to play it again and I can't fast forward and it starts from the beginning.
Help you with that.
Thanks.
Our good friend David Torres sent me a message in the middle of the night last night.
Oh, David.
Listening to your guest appearance on the Recovering from Religion podcast. You two sound so confident and professional. Impressive.
Thank you, David.
And I had to tell him that I am now the volunteer editor, producer for the...
I did it again.
God, you did. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I volunteered now that I do the post-production editing on the Recovering from Religion podcast, so I can make myself sound however the fuck I want.
Oh, my gosh.
And he said that's cheating.
It kind of is, but,
don't care.
That's okay.
Okay, so let's get into the next set of stories. Another Iowa story.
Oh.
A Republican lawmaker has proposed a privately funded monument to be placed on the Iowa Capitol grounds. Any guess what that monument might be?
Was it phallic?
For the answer, here's State Representative Dean Fisher in an interview with station KCCI.
These are human lives that are being lost to abortion. We build memorials for so many other things, Holocaust victims, victims of slavery, and so on. And I think it's only fitting that we also remember that she's a baby and that we need to remember that these are lives lost. And it's not just the life that's lost, but it's the generations that would have come after them.
And go.
Wow. I'm guessing... what is a fetus, Alex?
I don't know what the design...
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
That's really...
But they want to put up a monument to aborted fetuses.
What's the tool that they use to do that? Maybe it should be that.
The bill... Well, if America keeps going the direction it's going, it'll be a fucking coat hanger.
Yeah.
House Bill, the bill HF, I don't know what that stands for, HF 135, is very similar to bills we've seen from the Arkansas Ten Commandments Monument. It must be privately funded, as if that removes the problem of having it on public property, and requires, quote, the Department of Administrative Services, in consultation with the Capitol Planning Commission, to authorize the placement of an abortion victims monument on the Capitol Complex grounds.
I bet they'll want to make it shaped like a cross, because God loves all those little dead babies.
You're probably right. You're right. But a cross with like little children looking up at it with their arms stretched. Jack Matirko, writing at the Pathos blogs, points out that, quote, Fisher lacks any obvious or clear understanding of the issues, suggesting that these are lives lost, which is a religious opinion based on the idea of ensoulment at conception, with the actual ground truth that at worst an abortion is a potential life that was never realized. He says, until such time that anyone can demonstrate that consciousness begins before the actual physical components of consciousness exist, then the belief that a fetus is a person is just that, a belief, a religious one. Now, I don't want to be the victim of a slippery slope here, but we might as well put up a giant fucking sperm monument, too, dedicated to all the swimmers that weren't fast enough or ended up in a sock.
I like that. Dan says, on a more serious note, what about a memorial to all the people who have lost their lives due to greedy pharma companies jacking prices out of reach?
Right? Right?
I mean,
we're hearing stories right now of people who can't afford to get their insulin, for fuck's sake.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Do we need monuments on the Capitol grounds anyway? Like,
no.
I mean,
no.
I'm a little torn because there are some monuments that are like, oh, well, that's a.
I mean, okay, so there are.
But I think you could make a space for that.
Yeah, I don't. It should be a Parks and Rec kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be part of. I just feel like there should be a separate allotment. It shouldn't be on the grounds of the Capitol building because, or anywhere where lawmakers and elected officials go to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and if the idea is that it's supposed to be like viewed by the public in a way that they can reflect on our heritage, our past, or things that have happened in our nation. Like, if that's the intent, put it in a park.
Yeah, they could open Roe v. Wade National Park, and they
Monument State Park.
That was being
full of monuments.
Monument State Park. I was gonna go somewhere.
Well, I know one place you're not going. Hell, because it doesn't exist.
I was going to say Texas.
While the Catholic Church is up to its weird fucking hats in sex abuse scandals, the Houston Chronicle and San Antonio Express News report that since 2008, more than 250 people who worked or volunteered in the Southern Baptist churches nationwide, pastors, youth ministers, deacons, Sunday school teachers, have been charged with sex crimes. More than 250. And since 1998... at least 380 Southern Baptist Convention leaders or volunteers have been charged or credibly accused of abuse, leaving more than 700 victims in their wake.
Yeah.
A monument to the religious pervert. Like, well, let's do that.
Yeah.
While we're making monuments,
can it be a cross on fire?
Rape victims. Like, come the fuck on.
Yeah.
About 220 were convicted of sex-related crimes or took plea deals, and some of these convicted and registered sex offenders still preach at Southern Baptist churches, including one who also heads up a Houston nonprofit that works with school children.
Speaking of children, we have one asleep. Can you not yell so loudly?
Sorry. SBC leaders knew there was a sexual abuse problem, but of course they knew, but claimed they were powerless to act because an organization they offer, as an organization, they offer the individual churches a core autonomy and independence.
But of course.
The Chronicle notes that, quote, SBC governing documents ban gay or female pastors, but they do not outlaw convicted sex offenders from working in churches. Back on episode 121 in July of 2018, we talked about the arrest of Mark Aderholt after Anne-Marie Miller brought in allegations of being sexually assaulted at age 16 to the police. And just to recap on that, International Mission Board conducted an investigation into those claims in 2007, didn't call the police at all, and despite the investigation, Aderholt went on to serve as an assistant pastor at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas, and eventually rose up to be the associate director and chief strategist of the South Carolina Baptist Convention in 2016. Now, Anne-Marie seems to be doing fairly well, considering this devastating long-term effects that sexual abuse often causes, and we exchange a random email here and there, and occasionally I check in on her blog. So know that she has found power and in all of this, and is using her voice to make things better for people. But like, I hate hearing this shit, and you know that I do. But I'm glad this stuff is finally seeing the light of day.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it forces change. Religion in America gets way too much in the way of exemption because religions are privileged. Many states exempt faith leaders from mandatory reporting laws, for example. And here's what these people need to understand. Like, we're getting to the tipping point where you either send these molesters packing, or you're going to come in one Sunday and the pews will be empty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where it's at. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Again, like I said with the Catholic scandal, I don't know how you take your children to that church.
Nope.
Do not understand it.
Wouldn't be happening.
And this exemption from mandatory reporting laws, again, at the top of this story, with the Baptist SBC leaders we knew this was a problem, but we couldn't do anything. Like the fuck you couldn't. You call the fucking police when you know that there is an allegation of sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fucking kidding me? Why do we exempt pastors?
There is no logical reason for it.
Nope.
None whatsoever. I mean, you wouldn't do that for a school teacher.
Right.
You wouldn't do that for a doctor. You wouldn't do, like...
Right, literally anyone else, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I was raped, you call the police. But if you're a pastor, that's a sin, not a crime, and we'll handle that within the church or fucking whatever they say. Yeah. Not acceptable. And again, right, so let's go back to the belief's not the believer sort of position, right? If you're a faith leader and you're listening to this, can't believe you are, leave us a 5-star review.
Please. No.
But like, you gotta be the ones to come out and say, no, Representative so-and-so, we do not need exemptions for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And pastors absolutely should be reporting this nonsense.
Right.
Why are you not going to your legislators and saying, remove these exemptions? Like, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
My church is going to report any credible claims or any claims, credible or otherwise.
Yeah.
Let the police figure out if they're credible.
If they're credible, right.
We're going to report any claims of sexual abuse.
Right.
Period. The end. But I know that there are other faith leaders and churches out there who won't, so it shouldn't be privileged under the law.
Right. You know, and there are plenty of churches and pastors and religious leaders that are on the up and up about these things, that do go to the police, that do report, that do what is necessary.
Yep. Except the Catholics and the Southern Baptists.
It's just sad that I just don't understand why this is still a thing.
Right.
There should be no exemptions. There's no reason for it.
I'm going to send a message to Tim Reimel, because like they've recently talked about this on the Recovering from Religion podcast, and that was the episode we were on, or the one before. about how like you can separate those things as a believer to be like, oh well, the priest is abusing people, but the priest is not my religion, and the priest is not my belief, and the priest is not my God.
Victoria asked an interesting question, and I don't know the answer, but do they exempt leaders of other faiths?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is written as any.
All right.
Most of them, I should say, are written as any faith leader.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I figured,
But also, like, this goes back to the way that religious leaders are privileged under the law as counselors.
Yeah.
Right? If you're having trouble in your marriage, we could go to the pastor and help the pastor help us sort it out. Right? Or we can go to an actual trained counselor.
Right.
And let them help us sort it out. One of them has training. The other does not.
Yeah. I feel like that in itself, says a lot to where we are in society in general, because the whole, you can't go see a therapist for any, like marriage counseling. Oh, nope, you go to the church for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are plenty of people who have taken actual, like, educational courses and learned the actual science of relationships.
Right.
And
because as a faith leader, you're going like, I'm trying to think. I had this conversation with somebody, and I think it was in response to somebody in that group, Tim's group. And I'm going to come to that in a minute.
Okay.
But it was like, you shouldn't be able to go to your faith leader and say, like, oh, we're having our trouble in the marriage or whatever. And the response be like, well, are you being a good, godly woman?
Right. Sure.
Right. Are you submitting to your husband?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, and that happens so much in I've heard it, a lot of those stories where the wife is getting abused and she goes to her congregation leaders and they say, well, you're just not being submissive enough.
Right.
Don't give him a reason to be angry and he won't hit you.
What?
Fuck that. And if that's your answer, you don't even deserve to be a faith leader. Done. Like, you know what I mean? That's not, I just don't feel like that's appropriate at all. I don't care what your book says.
Right. Right. Because again, we have like demonstrable evidence supporting the position to the opposite.
Right.
That says, no, that's actually not helpful at all. And you need to go get evidence-based counseling.
Yeah.
Dan had a great comment. When churches participate in political or criminal activity, they should immediately lose their 501c organization status.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who is recently filing for 501c3 status for an organization, boy howdy have I learned a lot.
Right?
Holy shit. And what it says is, regarding politics, for example, a 501c3 cannot engage in any kind of propaganda or campaigning or support of a particular candidate or opposition to a particular candidate. It can, however, engage to a limited scope in issues of legislation. So, as an organization, your church or atheist church can lobby, against the Project Blitz bills, for example, right? That's a thing that I can do as an organization. We could do that as a 501c3 organization. As long as it is not the primary function of the organization.
Right.
Right? So we're, for the purposes of the atheist community of Polk County, we're a social group. We're going to have educational meetings. We're going to have social outings. What else are we doing?
I think we're going to work towards,
we're going to do activisty things that are not specific to legislation and whatnot, right? So we're going to have a booth at Pride.
Yeah.
Right? That basically is us just saying, like, look, we support equal rights.
Right.
Right? Constitutional equal rights. And that's not politicking for or against legislation.
Community service. We're gonna do,
community service. That's the one I was
maybe an adopt a highway, clean up a park, or go work at a food bank, or volunteer at a shelter. There was another thing I was looking at. I wanted to do the Humane Society.
Yeah.
You can go volunteer at the Humane Society. Different things like that. We have people in our group that have kids, so we've got to do activities that the kids can get involved in. And I think cleaning up parks and going and playing with puppies at the Humane Society would be amazing for the kids.
Right.
But it's community. It's being in the community and being visible in the community, so that when people see you out in the community and they see you're wearing your atheist shirt and they go, oh,
that's that group.
That does all this stuff, and they're not godless heathens, and
Right.
they're actually doing good things.
Right. So the point is, the majority of our work is not around politics.
It's community based.
It's community stuff, right? And as long as you do that, you're safe.
Right.
Right. Anyway, we got way off on a tangent there. Let's move on then. An interesting observation from LGBTQ Nation writer Daniel Villarreal. He may have discovered the reason behind Jonathan Sands, president of hate group Texas Values, hatred against queer people.
Ooh.
Again, this is one of those things where I'm towing the line of the believer and the belief. Sands is the guy who recently, and I'm probably saying his name wrong, but I really don't care because he's kind of a jerk. Sands, S-A-E-N-Z. Sands is the guy who recently said that the ultimate goal of the pro-LGBTQ Democratic state bills, of which they filed 8, well done, is to ban the Bible, he says. And Texas Values has spread misinformation claiming that the bills would threaten Christians with jail time and fines. Not true.
There's the fear-mongering.
Villarreal writes, nevertheless, Sands' group continues to foment conservative Christian hatred against queer people, and perhaps his animus has to do with his ex-wife.
Oh.
In 2011, Sands' wife, Corinne, divorced him to be with her female coworker, an elementary school teacher named Ursilia Paredes.
Oh, that is just... Oh.
Right?
That's amazing.
Listen, kids, karma is not a thing, but every once in a while there's evidence that seems to support it being a real thing.
Karma.
But it's not.
Karma wasn't this girl's thing. That was, what's the other girl's name?
Yes. He failed.
Oh, wow.
He failed all the way through the court proceedings, accusing her of having an extramarital affair, trying to ban Paredes, the school teacher, from being in the courtroom.
What?
Trying to jail Corinne for refusing to take a psych evaluation.
What?
And tried to prevent Paredes from ever seeing Corinne's children. Fail, 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 fail.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This is like soap opera material here.
Right? We should start a Netflix series.
Right?
Since the divorce, Sands has gone on to say that he sees same-sex marriage similar to incest, supports ex-gay therapy for kids, thinks trans people in bathrooms are dangerous, and called gayness a, quote, dangerous and risky sexual activity that can fiercely jeopardize a person's well-being. Let me translate that for you. A dangerous and risky sexual activity that can fiercely jeopardize my marriage.
Well, oh man, there's so much there.
And if his name sounds familiar, that's because he's one of the prominent guys that helped overturn HERO, the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance in 2015 that we talked about till your ears bled.
Yeah. Wow. That was so long ago.
Yeah, it was, right? Can you believe we didn't do this show that long?
Oh, that was like the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
Like I don't wish any ill will on the guy, right? But divorce happens and people
sucks.
figure out
I feel bad for their kids.
stuff.
Like that's rough.
Right.
But like seriously, this is like total made-for-TV Hallmark movie.
And again,
something.
this is not like conclusively this is why he's an asshole towards queer
Well,
people.
yeah, but you kind of have to kind of. Yeah, it's not. I don't know.
Right.
It's like that's like the scorned woman that hates all men once she gets screwed over.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, I feel like that is probably what's going on here.
Yeah, you're right. Finally, in local news tonight, an 11-year-old Polk County student was arrested and suspended for 3 days after refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wait, this isn't the Florida man story?
No.
Okay.
Now, that lead is a little misleading, but to be honest, but the story that ran yesterday, as we all found out the events that happened on February 4th, that's what we got.
Right.
Right? Student arrested, suspended after didn't stand for the pledge and was arrested. So now we have a little bit more information. According to the arrest affidavit, the sixth grader,
11 years old.
Put this in your carry this with you through the whole goddamn story. According to the arrest affidavit, the sixth grader at Lawton Childs Middle Academy in Lakeland, Florida, was arrested by the school resource officer because he refused to follow multiple commands, reportedly called school leaders racist, and was disruptive. So here's what we know. This all started when a substitute teacher asked the student to stand up for the pledge. The student reportedly told the substitute that the flag was racist and the national anthem was offensive to black people. I don't disagree entirely. In a statement to the district, the substitute teacher reported telling the 11-year-old boy, quote, "Why, if it was so bad here, he did not go to another place to live." She then said,
Because like an 11-year-old can just pick up and leave the country, you dumbass.
She said, he then said, "They brought me here."
Right?
Then she replied by saying, "Well, you can always go back because I came here from Cuba, and the day I feel I'm not welcome here anymore, I would find another place to live. You're an adult, you can do that." She wrote, "Then I had to call the office because I did not want to continue dealing with him." According to the arrest affidavit, the student allegedly threatened to get the school resource officer and principal fired and to beat the teacher. The student, who was with his mother when she was interviewed by Bay News 9, said he didn't threaten to beat the teacher. The mother said her son doesn't normally stand for the pledge, so he never stands for the pledge. Point of fact. But last week, he had this substitute who instructed him to stand. So the student's version of the story, as told by the mother, quote, "She told my son to go back to his homeland. He was confused. He said, 'What do you mean? Africa?' The teacher replied, 'Yeah.' And that's when it escalated." Polk County Public Schools spokesperson Kyle Kennedy said the boy, quote, "was arrested after becoming disruptive and refusing to follow repeated instructions by school staff and law enforcement." Kennedy said he wanted to make it clear that the student was not arrested for refusing to participate in the pledge. Spin doctors. He said students aren't required to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance, but the substitute teacher wasn't aware of this. Substitute will no longer be able to work at any of the district schools, and the district is looking into the matter and will be reviewing their training policy with Kelly Services, the external agency that handles hiring substitutes.
How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to hear the story from other kids in the room.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because right now it's a he said, she said.
I mean, you know how I do. They finally released the next story that came out. I think it was the Bay News 9 article. Because the Ledger did their initial story. And again, like, keep in mind the way reporting happens, right? The initial reporting is often very vague. It doesn't include all the facts. It is just we just got here and here's what we know.
Right.
Right? And when you read those initial news reports in the paper, you have to imagine that it, like the TV reporting, literally the reporter just walked in and was like, with a microphone, so tell me what happened?
Right.
And that's all you get, right? And then in the next days, then more details come out, and you really get a full color to the story, a full picture. So you keep that in mind. But the student never stands for the pledge. Never. And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I don't like it either.
Right.
I don't think pledging allegiance to anything makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry. How many times have I said, we have a special song. Other countries have special songs too. We have a special fucking flag. Other countries have flags. We have a special poem. Other countries have poem. Ours is no more special or better or worse or anything than any of the others. But we hang it on the wall and masturbate as if it's this amazingly fantastic thing that we should all just be in love with. And I don't get it. Anyway, the boy's mom wants the charges dropped,
Obviously.
and he was suspended from school for 3 days, but WTSP reports that she has already moved him to a private school. So, let me say this. If the reports of threats of violence are true, that part I can't agree to.
Right.
With perhaps the only exception that, like, when you're an 11-year-old, and you're being arrested. When you're an 11-year-old kid of color in America and you're being arrested and your fucking parents have probably had to teach you.
Right. Well, and you're being arrested because you did something that you do every day.
Right.
Or you didn't do something that you don't do. Like,
right.
Because one ignorant person of the situation.
Right.
Like the substitute teacher.
Yep.
Let it get as far as it did because she was ignorant,
right,
to what the law is,
right. But for the kid's sake, for the kid's point, like, I can't exactly expect you to be level-headed.
No, not at 11.
You're 11, and you're being arrested at your school in front of the whole fucking class.
Right?
Are you kidding me? And most of all, to your point, the teacher violated his civil liberties.
Right.
And none of the rest of this would have happened.
Yep.
If she hadn't escalated the situation. If she had shut the fuck up and not said, well, go back home if you don't like it here.
Yeah, what in the world?
This kid should be exonerated of everything. Like, drop the charges.
Right.
Anything that appears on any records anywhere need to go away.
Yeah.
I think. And it's the teacher who allowed this to be escalated, who purposely escalated the situation.
Yeah.
That's where my problem lies.
Yeah.
I support this kid. I support this kid's family. Like, whatever they're going through, I tried to reach out to the ACLU of Florida. I know that they have a group that they're working, an advocacy group that they are working with. I tried to find info because the news story that published in Bay News 9, this is where I was going earlier and I lost track, included the mother's name, where the initial reporting did not.
Right.
I tried looking her up to see if I could find like a social media account that I could reach out to just to say like, look, hey, from the organization,
right?
Hey, not cool. And if there's anything we can do to help you, like, contact any groups or like anything, please let us know. But I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine she probably had to shut it down.
I'm sure she did. And it's just sad because it's like for nothing. Like absolutely no reason that it should have gone as far as it did.
No, there's no reason.
And I mean, this is a thing that kind of bothers me about Polk County. The only thing you need to be a substitute teacher is a high school diploma and a clean background check.
Yeah.
And you have to go through this Kelly staffing company, and they do everything.
Right.
But shame on them for not providing their substitute teachers with that kind of information. And being a teacher is not easy. And I know I have lots of friends that do substitute teaching, and it's not easy. And I can't imagine being in a situation where I'm with middle schoolers, and who knows what kind of week this lady was having. But you still have to go into that with information, and you have to know. I would think that with the political climate and everything that's been going on surrounding the NFL players, how do you not know? How do you not, like, you go to a school and you know they're going to do the pledge every day? I feel like, wouldn't it be in your best interest to know the law, so that if you do come across that child that doesn't want to say the pledge, you know what to do in that situation? I don't know. It's crazy to me.
And here's the thing. Like, this is what I think about the staffing situation, right? Because one of the responses from a representative of the school district was, like, we're going to be in touch with Kelly Services to figure out, training or whatever. The training issue for me is not so much about the constitutional rights of a student, which, by the way, everybody should know this.
Right.
Okay? Everybody ought to know that, right? But the issue for me is the reaction.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know where how constitutional rights apply to students, even if you don't know that, you don't have to know that. That's fine. But even if you don't know that, you should know, at the very least, not to say to a child, well, if you don't like it here, go back to your own country.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Like, does she just feel empowered to say that because she's from Cuba?
I don't know. I don't know. And that emphasis is mine. I'm pronouncing it that way because that's what I do.
Well, but that's how most...
Yes, I know.
I grew up in Miami, so you were right on.
I know. So, so that's the thing. Like, this is all on her shoulders, this teacher's shoulders. It has to be.
She needs to find a different job. She's going to have to.
And my question from Kelly Services wouldn't be like, what training do we need to talk? No, look, we expect a level of professionalism.
Right.
In the teaching career.
Well,
but
the school board should, I would hope, would never allow another student to say that to a student.
Right? Anti-harassment policy.
Right. So it should
anti-bullying.
It should be obvious that a teacher or a substitute teacher or any staff member, a resource officer, a coach, a janitor, whoever, would never be allowed to say that to a student or another staff member.
Right. But also, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because we're
already there, but go on.
One of the teachers in our atheist community group commented that Polk County School District used to manage their own substitutes in-house, which I get. It has a administrative toll. That there's a cost to that to manage all of that stuff internally. And sure, it's easier and maybe cheaper, maybe more expensive. I don't know the facts, but it's certainly easier to go, Becca's temporary employment service, hey, can you help us fill these positions that we need to fill? We need to have some substitute teachers, and if you can just gather all the people who are substitute teachers and then send them to whatever school that they need to go to, boy, that would make our life a whole lot easier.
You know what else it does? It makes it easier when something like this happens to go, oh, well, we'll get with the staffing agency that's external that handles that and see what went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes the filter away from the school district from vetting these people. Right. So who's vetting them? Right? And what are the qualifications? What's the criteria?
I'll tell you.
Yes. you already have. Like, literally, the bar of entry is
a high school diploma or a GED and a clean background check.
And willingness.
And you have to take like some kind of quiz thing or whatever, but it's like basic.
It's a low bar of entry is the point.
It really is. I mean,
and
My third grader could probably.
Probably.
He just wouldn't have the diploma.
My conversation to this teacher in our group, in our community group, was like, did we lower these expectations at some point? Like, I don't know the history. We haven't lived in Polk County our whole lives. But at some point, like when we removed the district's internal hiring of substitute teachers, when we outsourced it, when we farmed it out to this staffing agency, like at what point did we go, yep, you know what, we're going to lower the bar way the hell down? And is it because we can't get people to fill these positions? We started out this school year short hundreds of teachers and bus drivers.
And schools massively overstaffed.
Overcrowded.
Crowded, not staffed. Understaffed,
overcrowded.
Yeah.
Right, we started out this year way off kilter. So it makes me wonder if we were like, well, we need to get some teachers in here, so let's just move the bar down a little bit. It was
clearly budget cuts. It had to be. If they took it from doing in-house, well, now we can't afford to do all of this, so we got to find the money somewhere to pay for these other I mean, they're cutting bus transportation to charter schools.
Yep.
They're trying to find all this money that they just don't have, and Polk County is one of the worst as far as school districts in the state. When it comes to money.
But I mean, there's some good news in that too. Like we passed the half-cent sales tax renewal, and we're gonna get a new high school across from our kids' elementary school, middle school. Like there are good financial decisions that are being made too.
There are.
But this is the thing about running a business, right? What is the most expensive cost of operating a business? Labor. It's people.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, they're going to have this nice brand new high school, but what kind of teachers are they going to fill it with if they can't fill the schools that we already have that are standing?
Right.
Where are they going to get
these teachers? We can't hire enough fucking teachers as it is.
You don't have enough bus drivers. You got buses that are just sitting in the depot because they don't have enough drivers to drive them.
We're way down the rabbit hole, but let me also admit, we got to get out of this. But let me mention too that I'll make a case for that. Stand by.
All right.
But our Republican governor has been making some strangely supportable decisions lately. Like,
we're in the twilight zone, people.
Yeah, like the teacher funding package would increase salaries, and but for like would be a bonus. Sorry, not increase salaries. Would be a bonus.
Extra.
That looks really nice, and it doesn't solve the problem of teacher pay long term.
No.
But it's a start. And God, here's the thing, if we could invest in education, if people would understand that by investing in our children, in our education system, all of the troubles of society that we have, all of that stuff gets a little bit easier with an educated population, with a well-educated population. And in order to educate the population well, we have to pay for it. So this is my appeal, right? This is not your school district necessarily, those of you listening from elsewhere. If you are, please let us know what you think. I mean, let us know what you think either way. But for those of you listening outside of this area, this shit could be happening in your district. It could happen in your district. It may have happened in your district. People may not know about it happening. But the overarching point, I think, to me, is that the education system that we have in America must be funded in order to provide high-quality education, and that includes well-trained teachers. And that should include a higher bar of entry for substitute teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You should have to have a fucking teaching degree. You should have to have the certificate.
Yeah.
If I have to have it to do it on a full-time basis, you should have to have it to fill in tomorrow.
Well, and not just tomorrow. Like we had a situation with our son's teacher this year where her sister was very ill and she was having to take off time, like weeks, or like a week here, a week there, and they were having repeat substitutes. So
Yeah.
they're classed for like we're only halfway through the year, and probably I would say maybe 2 to 3 weeks of that half of the 18 weeks or whatever it is, they've had substitutes.
Right.
And usually they're lucky enough to get the same substitute for the week that she's out, but sometimes that doesn't work.
Right.
So, for the occasional fill-in, the kindergarten teacher's out because she's got the flu, so she's going to miss a couple of days. It's kindergarten. They can cut paper into circles and make snowmen or whatever they do in kindergarten. I don't remember. But when you get up into those higher grades where you're teaching history and you're teaching math and you're teaching science, I want to know that the person you have in that classroom teaching my child things that he is going to have to later in the year go back and take a test on.
Right.
Because if he doesn't pass that test, he doesn't get the grade or he doesn't get to move on or whatever. I want to know that the teacher that was teaching that lesson, whether it be his actual teacher or the substitute that was there for that week, has enough knowledge on that subject to actually make sure that he gets the information he needs. Because I'll tell you what, we're in 3rd grade right now. 3rd grade comes down to one test in Florida.
Yeah. State standards.
Our son gets straight A's, but if he fails this one test, he has to do 3rd grade again. So I do think about that. I think
now I'm on to straight rum, by the way. I'm out of Diet Coke. But if no,
I'm not gonna drink it. Okay.
All right, let's do the Florida man, eh?
Well, you know what they say. All the best stories start with Florida man, 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 Florida. And sometimes a Florida woman.
The Florida Man, brought to you by our top patrons, part-time patron Russell, Mandy Imus, Spike Dollars.
What?
And our official, unofficial live researcher, Dan. If you are a patron, you can change your name every week if you want to some goofy shit that we'll read on the air.
On the air, yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome to do that. Or we'll just keep calling out your name.
And if you don't want to change your name because you can't come up with something, shoot me a message. I'll come up with something.
Okay, I have 2 stories tonight. First, responding to a report of a disturbance at a house in DeLand, Volusia County Sheriff's Deputy Brandon King arrived to find 53-year-old Julie Edwards trying to leave the property in her black Lexus. He immediately smelled alcohol on Edwards' breath and noticed that she was slurring like I am.
Multiplication. Well, how'd you say it? Multiplication?
I love you guys. He immediately smelled alcohol on Edward's breath and noticed that she was slurring. No, now I'm laughing. She was walking away from him unsteadily, according to the police report. She allegedly refused to take a breathalyzer test or perform field sobriety exercises, and she walked away from Deputy King after being handcuffed and resisted attempts to be put in the police cruiser. Once she was inside the cruiser, while King was completing paperwork, this happened. Warning, racist rant ahead.
I didn't say I find me in the corner. Somebody else will. I won't find you. My KKK people will.
Alright, thank you for that threat. I'll add
I
that
didn't
charge
say
in
it about
here.
you. I said they know people like you. I didn't say you. Hey, ain't a damn thing wrong with a burning cross in your yard, is there? You with the wrong white people. You f***ed up. Hope you don't have no kids. You know what's going to happen here now? You don't want to know. You're done. They're going to hurt you bad.
Now, every time it bleeps out, it's probably the N-word. And remember, she's about as drunk as I am right now.
I don't know.
Maybe not as drunk.
I was going to say, she sounds more drunk than you.
You don't f*** with little white girls. Not like you do. Your eyes would be poked out, you know. You sat here and laughed at me.
I wasn't laughing at all.
God.
Bravo 25. Cents.
Got a nigger and a white nigger.
Bravo 25. We transporting my 1015 to the branch jail now, starting same offending.
KKK's got your ass, boy.
At 128.
Burn your ass. When you for. Send you all you back. Burn the rest of you. You're gonna look like a dumbass. So do they have special incentives to hire for because they have to have so many for cops? Yeah, my KKK friends will burn your family. Should never be here in the first place. Never been whipped on a whipping post? I never
Can we just talk about the grace under pressure that this officer, holy crap.
Man, but see, because I'm a bitch. If that had been me, I would have been turning on like the hardest rap song and been like, wait a minute. Oh my God. Okay.
Volusia County Sheriff tweeted out this video of the tirade saying, quote, "You may have heard someone made racist threats against one of our deputies. Before you go on a racist rant, just remember, we have body cams." She's facing charges of making threats against a law enforcement officer, resisting an officer without violence, driving under the influence, and prior refusal to submit to testing. According to online inmate records, Edwards bonded out of the Volusia County Jail. She was arrested twice in 2011 on multiple charges, including a DUI, resisting arrest with violence, battery on a law enforcement officer, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon.
Oh my God.
And domestic battery.
Wow. That was 2011?
Yeah.
So 8 years later, she's only learned not to be violent.
Right.
But all the other stuff still flies.
Right. Just,
oh my gosh.
Look, when you're in the back of the cruiser, shut your fucking mouth. Just shut up.
Gosh. That's insane.
The Stecken story requires a video.
The Stecken story?
Shut up. Put the video on.
Well, I would, but the mouse died again.
So I'm going to have you play this video and while I read the story. Lady Lake Police Department dash cam footage picked up a rather unique chase with 29-year-old Jesse Webb behind the wheel of a stolen community watch vehicle.
Oh my God.
Which he commandeered from a neighborhood supervisor, responding to reports that Webb was running around shouting that, quote, people were eating his brains out.
Oh my God.
After hopping behind the wheel, as you see here, Webb swerves across several backyards before veering onto the grounds of Orange Blossom Hills Golf and Country Club. Two cruisers give chase as Webb weaves in and out of carts and players, the latter scrambling dumbfounded to get out of the way. If you thought getting up and down from a fairway bunker was hard enough, just try doing it with Florida Man bearing down on you in a stolen SUV.
Oh my gosh. This video is great.
Yep. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and Webb was eventually apprehended after taking the chase into town, which is about to come up here on the video. Slamming into the side of a nursing home. Well, it is Florida after all.
Oh my God.
And attempting to escape on foot. Orange Blossom Hills wasn't quite so lucky, however, reportedly sustaining thousands of dollars worth of damage in the chase. Webb's zombies, meanwhile, remained at large.
Oh my god.
You're welcome to let this play out, but he's getting out onto the roadway now, and they're going to chase for a little while, and then he's going to slam into a wall.
I want to see him slam into the wall. Like I'm mesmerized over here. Oh, like I'm back in the grass. I'm waiting for the thing to go into the lake, to be honest. There's a huge, big-ass lake over there. And it's raining.
Right, he's out on the golf course
like,
still.
It's raining, and they're driving in the grass, and I'm like, man, that grass is wet and probably hard to drive on. Just, Oh.
This is so crazy.
It's crazy.
He's out on the golf course.
Just la 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 la. Let me wreak havoc on the golf course. Oh my god!
Here's back in people's backyards, right? Like driving through the yards on people in the living
like
in the
look
golf
at
course.
he's fishtailing.
The ruts in the ground, like the sod's all fucked up.
Oh my gosh! It's amazing that there weren't like with the 3 cars. There's 3 cars chasing him. It looked like.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they were able to all keep their vehicles from. Oh my gosh.
Look, I'm just saying, if you're gonna like lead the police on a chase, make it interesting.
I guess.
That's
Holy
all I'm saying.
Mother.
I like dash cam footage too. It's because it's interesting. It like gives you insight into it's sort of how the police are,
like what they're
pursuing
seeing.
somebody. Yeah.
All these cars don't know what to do.
Yeah, let me add at this point, if you have an emergency vehicle come up behind you, it's the law. You pull over to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Pull over.
Oh, damn.
This video is like 5 minutes long. I'll probably cut some of this, but...
Oh, my God.
It's still going.
I can't believe this is crazy.
Victoria already says this one wins, A, for being a wannabe zombie story,
right?
And B, for having awesome video.
Oh, this is so much better than the guy who drove his Ferrari. Oh, damn.
Smash.
There's the payoff. This is so much better than the guy who drove his, Ferrari off the pier.
Yeah, right.
This video wins.
So there you go.
That was funny. Wow.
Look, I'm just saying, especially if you live in Florida, if you're going to lead the police on a chase, make it interesting so we can talk about it on the show.
Oh, man. That was fun. That was good.
Your choices tonight.
Obviously. Oh, okay. You've got names. Oh.
Black History Month is like a full moon for racists. Or 4. I don't know what to pick. I can't do this.
Oh, man.
I really like the first story with
that was
especially because the officer was just like, I'm the officer and you're in handcuffs in the back seat and you can fuck off.
Right? And
you can say whatever you want. And yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I really like the first one just because. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the first one.
What saith the chat? Russell says 4.
Anna says, I vote racist just for the cops singing to keep us cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
He was just like, it's a bright, sunshiny day. Going back to the precinct, gonna lock this fucking bitch up. That was great.
I mean, he really could have taken it to a whole nother level. What's that song that we weren't allowed to play at the All-Star anymore because it was...
Oh, God, I don't know.
Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh, Lord almighty.
I mean, she was drunk. She wasn't going to remember any of it anyway. This is the way my brain works. I'm just sick.
Right. Hey, let's just wrap this thing up. I don't have a whole lot else to say. But thank you all for tuning in and putting up with whatever
this was
ended up being.
Thank you, patrons, for the new bottle of rum I'm gonna have to go buy.
Right. I haven't emptied the rum. I emptied the Diet Coke.
Oh, okay. Well.
Anyway, we'll be back with you next week at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Facebook Live. You've been listening to Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.